Efe grew up in a small village where life wasn't easy. Her family was very poor and they struggled to make ends meet. Efe's father had passed away when she was only 10, and her mother worked as a street vendor selling fruits and vegetables to feed the family. Efe had four younger siblings and she had to help her mother by working after school. She loved her family, but it was tough. Despite the hardships, Efe was always cheerful. She had big dreams and hoped one day things would get better. She wanted to finish school and get a good job so her family wouldn't have to struggle anymore. But when her mother got sick, Efe had to drop out of school. From there on, her life was all about surviving and helping her family. After her mother passed, Efe knew she had to do something to support her siblings. She then moved to Lagos, the big city, hoping to find work, but Lagos was even tougher than she expected. Jobs were hard to come by, and she often found herself doing odd jobs like cleaning houses or selling food by the roadside. Every day was a challenge, but Ife never gave up. She believed that one day something good would happen. Her kind nature and bright smile made people like her, and she managed to get by with whatever little she earned. Though the city was harsh, Efe kept her hope alive, dreaming of a better future. So one fateful day, while Efe was selling food at a busy street corner, she met a man called Tunde. Tunde was a wealthy businessman who stopped to buy food from her stand. He was immediately drawn to Efe's smile and her hard-working spirit. Unlike the women he usually meet, Efe was humble and kind. So they started talking, and Tunde found himself visiting Efe's stand more often. He admired how she struggled to survive in such difficult conditions, but still managed to stay positive. Tunde, being used to a life of luxury, was fascinated by Efe's strength and determination. For Efe, meeting Tunde seemed like a blessing. Maybe he was the key to her dreams come true, so she said. As Tunde and Efe spent more time together, they grew closer. Tunde began to help Efe financially, giving her enough money to support her family. Efe was grateful and felt like her life was finally turning around. She hadn't expected to fall in love with Tunde, but his kind and generosity won her heart. Tunde too was falling for Efe. He liked her simplicity and how different she was from the women he knew in his wealthy circle. Before long, Tunde proposed to Efe and she happily accepted. For Efe, marrying Tunde felt like a dream come true, a way out of poverty and struggles she had known all her life. Efe and Tunde had a big wedding. It was nothing like what Efe had ever imagined. Tunde spared no expense, and the ceremony was lavish with hundreds of guests, fancy decorations, and lots of food. Efe family, though overwhelmed by the wealth and grandeur, were happy for her. Efe felt like a princess on her wedding day. She wore a beautiful white gown and everyone praised her beauty. But deep down, she couldn't help feeling a little nervous. She was stepping into a completely different world, one filled with luxury but also expectations that she wasn't used to. Nevertheless, she believed that marrying Tunde was the beginning of a wonderful new chapter in her life. After the wedding, Ife moved into Tunde's large mansion. The house was so big, she felt lost in it. Everything was new and strange to her. The fancy furniture, the maids who waited on her, and the endless rules of high society. Tunde introduced her to his friends, who were all wealthy and well known. At first, Ife was excited about her new life. She no longer had to worry about money, and she could send some to her siblings back in the village. But slowly, she started feeling out of place. She didn't know how to fit in with Tunde's rich friend, and they often looked down on her because she came from a poor background. As time went on, Efe noticed a change in Tunde. He was no longer as kind and loving as he had been when they first met. He started becoming controlling, telling her what to wear, how to speak, and even who she could talk to. Efe felt like she was losing herself. At first, Efe thought Tunde was just trying to help her fit into his world. But soon, she realized that his control was becoming sophisticating. She couldn't go out without his permission, and he always had an opinion about everything she did. Efe began to feel trapped in a world that no longer felt like her own. Tunde's controlling behavior grew worse, and Efe found herself more and more isolated. He stopped her from seeing her friends and even limited her contact with her family. Ife tried to talk to him about it, but Tunde always brushed her concern aside, saying he knew what was best for her. The mansion, once a symbol of her new life, started to feel like a prison. If he missed her whole life, even though it had been full of struggles, she missed her freedom, her ability to make choices for herself. Slowly, she realized that her dream of a better life had come at a heavy cost. Efe's life became more and more unbearable as Tunde's control tightened. She wasn't allowed to express her feelings, and every time she tried to speak up, Tunde would shut her down. It made her feel like she was ungrateful for all the things he had given her. If he learned to keep quiet, suffering in silence, she didn't tell anyone about the emotional abuse she was enduring. On the other side, she still appeared to be the perfect wife, living in luxury, but inside she was broken. Her spirit crushed by the man she once loved. As the days turned into months, Efe reached a breaking point. She could no longer bear the emotional torment. Tunde's control over her life had become unbearable, and she felt completely alone. Every day felt like a battle. She started to lose hope. Efe knew she had to make a decision, either continue living in silence or find a way to reclaim her life. But the fear of losing everything kept her quiet. She did not know how to escape the prison her life had become, and she wasn't sure she had the strength to fight back.